a copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
Reno Sheriff's Office calling all cars. Attention all Reno Sheriff's cars to broadcast 200 at 219 Peavine Street. 219 Peavine. See the woman.
If you were to fall heir to $1 million tonight, you might go out tomorrow and purchase a more costly automobile. But if you were wise, you'd go right on using police car performance gasoline because money can't buy a better gasoline than Rio Grande. This favorite fuel of the well-to-do and those in moderate circumstances alike is also the specified choice of the officials of 30 leading cities and counties throughout California. Rio Grande cracked gasoline is the always dependable driving force which powers more police cars, fire engines, ambulances, and other emergency equipment wherever it is sold than any other brand. And the reason back of all this universal popularity is neither accident nor mere guesswork. Police, fire, and hospital authorities selected Rio Grande cracked because this fine motor fuel proved itself by actual test in competition against all the rest. They have to have a gasoline that delivers quicker, right on the nose starting, steadier acceleration, long mileage endurance, greater reserve power, and the winning punch of speed if you need it. Rio Grande cracked is that gasoline. It has what it takes. It meets every rigid requirement of those who know their gasoline best because they drive the most. Countless motorists are profiting by the experience of these California authorities, and you too may find out for yourself by dropping in at your Rio Grande dealers tomorrow morning. Give that automobile of yours real police car performance by always using Rio Grande cracked gasoline, the West's most highly recommended gasoline. The fuel that gives you a longer, more efficient run for less money. The case we are to hear tonight was taken in the main from the confidential files of the Washoe County, Nevada Sheriff's Office. We therefore ask Sheriff Ray Root of Reno to prepare a personal message for you.
For years, the nations of the world have tried to stop the harrowing evil of dope distribution. Prices paid by drug addicts for their daily stint of opium, morphine, or heroin are far higher today than at any time in the past 20 years. There is a shortage of dope in the underworld, due mainly to the efforts of the federal and state agencies in apprehending and convicting the leaders of dope smuggling rings. Federal policy today centers not so much upon arresting minor peddlers and trying through them to trace their sources of supply, but instead to strike at the roots of the traffic itself. It was this policy that led to the activities of federal agencies in cooperating with my office in breaking up the powerful dope ring in Reno. The situation is by no means definitely wiped out, but great headway has been made in destroying the power of dope in Nevada. I shall have more to say regarding this case at the close of the program.
Calling All Cars is honored tonight to present as guest artist on this program the famous star of the stage and screen, Miss Catherine DeMille, in the role of Joyce McAllister. Our story opens in the middle of March 1937 in the office of Sheriff Root in Reno.
So you're from Santa Barbara, Miss McAllister.
Yes, but for the next few weeks, I'm a permanent resident of Reno.
Off for the old and on with the new, eh?
Well, not for me. This is the one and only time.
I hear you're interested in police work.
Oh, in a way, yes. I studied a little about criminology and all, but...
Well, we don't have much time for that sort of thing in this office. Usually it's a case of touch and go when a crime is committed here.
Does that apply to all of them?
Well, all except junk.
Junk?
Yes, dope, narcotics.
Oh.
But that's a case for the federal government in the first place. About all we can do is to arrest a few addicts or maybe a small-time peddler or two. And that's about our limit. When it comes to reaching the biggies, that's out of the question.
But why?
Well, for a lot of reasons. First, we're all too well known around here to get the goods on them. The ones who should be enforcing the law don't always see fit to take action just when we think they should. And as a consequence, there's quite a lot of traffic in narcotics going on around here.
Yes, I've noticed that there was something wrong in some of the branches of the law enforcing business.
Now, you take the case of Blanche Creek. She's in jail now, charged with possessing narcotics. She's a sick woman, mentally sick more than anything else. But my budget doesn't even allow me to hire a matron. You know, that woman hasn't even got anybody to talk to.
Well, perhaps there's something I could do.
Well, you might talk to her if you want to. She's trying to shake off the junk.
Junk? Oh, I know, dope.
Sure. It takes 6 or 8 grains a day. She's a main liner, too.
What's a main liner?
She injects the dope into the main vein when she can get a needle.
And when she can't get one?
Well, she scratches the skin till it bleeds and then squeezes a handkerchief or other piece of cloth that's been wet with the morphine solution.
That's horrible.
Yeah, maybe. But you'd be surprised what a person will do when the dope habit gets him.
Sheriff, I've got an idea. Why not let me help you catch these so-called higher-ups?
Well, I don't know just what you could do to help.
Well, I could see this woman you have in jail, and maybe I could get her to tell where she gets the drugs.
Oh, not a chance. If I sent you over there, she'd be suspicious right away.
Well, she doesn't have to know you sent me.
I don't see how we can keep her from it.
What's the penalty in this state for writing worthless checks?
About 90 days. Depends on the person, I guess.
All right, I'm going to write a check. I'll get my hotel to cash it. I'll write it on a bank where I have no account, and that'll make an outright case against me. You can put me in jail with that woman.
That's a serious thing, Miss McAllister.
Is anything more serious than the peddling of narcotics to persons already helplessly addicted?
Well, when you put it that way, I guess not.
You see to it that I'm placed where I can talk to Blanche Crete, and I'll get all the information you need.
A few days later, Joyce McAllister sat on the edge of a jail cot, looking into the pain-racked face of Blanche Crete. Suddenly, the woman sat bolt upright on her cot and seized the girl's wrist.
Get me a bindle, will you? Get me something. I can't stand this. I've got to have it. I've got to.
Oh, quiet. You'll be all right.
I won't be all right. I know what's coming. Pretty soon I'll go to pieces again. It'll be horrible.
Well, maybe if I knew where to go, I could get some for you.
I know we can get it.
Where?
No. Don't let them give me any. I can beat it. I can stick it out. A hard way. I want to beat it.
When did you have any last?
2 days ago. See, I'm already sneezing. That's a good sign. As soon as the sneezing stops, I'll be off the junk.
But don't you think you should sort of taper off?
No. Oh, tell these people, no matter how hard I beg, don't give me the junk. Let me do it the hard way.
Oh, but that'll take such a long time.
I don't care how long it takes. The hard way is the only sure way. I've been mainlining 6 and 7 grains a day. You can't keep that up.
It must be awfully expensive.
Yeah. It takes a couple of $100 a month. Sometimes more to buy the stuff. That's why so many of us have to start stealing and robbing. As long as I'm on the junk, I can't work. So figure it out for yourself.
I don't think it can be figured out.
I'm just one of hundreds like me in this town. Thousands, I'd say.
How'd you get started?
Well, I don't remember exactly. But sometime I was in school. High school. I was only about 16 then. Some of us started smoking marijuana. Just for fun, you know. Then, little by little, we got into more powerful stuff till here I am.
You mean to say it was possible for you to get drugs as a high school girl?
Sure, it's a cinch. It's easier now than it was then. The kids are being made junkers every day. The traffic has to have more junkers to get a bigger market.
Oh, but surely these peddlers don't sell dope to children.
No, don't they? That's what you think. The junkers have to peddle it and make new converts. That's the only way they can get the money to buy their own stuff. This town's full of it. Most of us came here to get divorced. What we need is divorce from drugs.
Well, don't the police do anything?
The law. Bah! Why, the biggest part of the law is the biggest crook among the junk dealers.
Who is he?
Never mind. I've said too much already. Forget it. Listen, don't squeal on me, dearie. And don't let him give me any more. I want to beat it. Oh, I'll get a doctor. Get somebody. Give me a shot. Give me some junk. Do something. Help me. Help me.
I tell you, Sheriff, I couldn't stand it. There she lay, writhing in pain, screaming for dope and pleading with me to get it, and still screaming that she didn't want it. Oh, I thought I'd go mad.
I shouldn't have let you go in there by yourself.
Oh, we've got to do something to help this woman. We've got to do something to help all these others who are trying to fight a habit that's overpowering them. I tell you, I've seen enough and heard enough to last me a lifetime.
And you've been there only a week. I've been in this place for years, seeing what you've seen, but I couldn't do anything about it.
Why couldn't you do something about it? You're an officer of the law, aren't you?
Yes, but what can I do? I've known for months of the increase in the traffic. Everywhere I turn, we run up against a blank wall of influence. Influence that we can't break down. We've got no funds to make purchases for evidence, and even if we did have, every peddler in town knows all my men. Besides, the best we can do is pinch the small fry. We can't touch the higher-ups.
I can. With the information this woman has given me, I'm going out, and I'm going to find out who's at the head of this dope traffic. I'm going
Hey, wait a minute. You might not be so lucky if someone heard you. Say, if I'd known it was going to affect you this way,
My mind's made up. I'm going to find out first if Blanche Crete told the truth. Then I'm going to find out why something can't be done about it.
You know, it's just occurred to me that you might have something there. Nobody in this town knows you. At least no one in that element. You've been in jail a week. They probably know that. They probably know you've been talking to this woman. You might be just the person I need.
Well, let's pretend I am anyway,
I wonder if you realize, though, what you're sticking your neck into.
Listen, I'm no baby. I can take it.
And just the same, it's dangerous. These junk dealers have a big thing. They'll not let a girl upset the apple cart.
Listen, if you're with me, say so. If you're not, I'll go it alone.
I'm with you. To the limit. You're about the only person around here who could expect results. But I warn you, nobody's going to peddle junk to a non-user. And you hardly look like a junker.
And don't forget that I spent a week in a cell with Blanche Crete. I know how to operate. Besides, I can say I want it for her.
Well, maybe that'll work. Anyway, it's worth trying.
Anything's worth trying. It'll help even one person who's in the condition Blanche Crete is.
At any rate, you're going to need some practical instruction. Now, you'll have to start by buying a bindle.
Just a small package?
Yeah, just enough for one shot. Buy it from any old alley peddler.
Oh, but it's not the alley peddlers we want. Mrs. Crete told me that the very man responsible...
Yes, now you take it easy. You start with a bindle, and then you gradually work up until you're buying it by the ounce. And then even by the half pound for big dough. Only I don't know where the big dough's coming from.
I'll get it some way. I have some money of my own. I'll spend every penny of it. I'll get some more somewhere else.
Well, if you get started and it looks like you're going to get on the inside of something, we'll find a way to make the buys. After all, there's still a government in Washington.
Have you any idea who these higher-ups are?
Yes, I have. But we won't go into that now. Say, there's a Chinese angle to this case, and that always spells danger and trouble.
I'm not afraid.
What did Mrs. Crete suggest that you do?
She told me that I could buy the stuff by standing in front of a cigar store down near the bus depot on Main Street.
Hey, is that place peddling junk?
No, she said not to go inside. The man who runs the place is on the level as far as she knows. But that's a contact point. I just go there and stand around till one of the peddlers comes along.
And that place is handy to some pretty tough gambling joints. You better watch your step.
Now, the gamblers in on this, too?
Oh, no. Having the peddlers around is not so hot for their business. Takes a lot of capital to hit the junk.
Well, tough or not, I'm going down there. I'll get to the bottom of this thing if it takes the rest of my life.
That night, Joyce took up her stand in front of the tobacco shop. Her heart pounded violently as she stood in the glare of the light from a flickering street lamp. She held the fur collar of her bright crimson jacket tight about her throat. The chill wind whipped her skirt into a swirling shadow. She trembled with apprehension as she heard single footsteps approach, stop, then pass on. In a moment, the footsteps returned. On 2 successive nights, Joyce McAllister made dollar purchases of morphine. But on the 3rd night, another man approached. Fear mounted in strangling suddenness.
I got the morph, sister.
Gee, good. I need it.
What do you want with this stuff? You ain't no junker.
I want it for Blanche. She's in jail.
Oh, so you got to see her, did you?
Sure. I was in the same cell with her for a week. She needs this.
Okay. I'll be seeing you.
Say, wait a minute.
Yeah?
I need a bigger amount. Several bindles.
Huh? What for?
Well, Blanche thinks she's going up for a rap. She's storing it up.
Oh, well, I always said a woman could hide this stuff better than a man.
Well, how about it?
Sure. Yeah, here's 6 bindles. Enough?
It'll do for this time. How much?
$6.
Here you are. 5 and 1. $6.
Yeah.
When can I get some more?
Anytime, sister. Hey, what's your name, kid?
Jean.
Oh, fine. You're okay, Jean. Anytime you want more, let me know.
I want more right away. As a matter of fact, I want an ounce or 2.
An ounce?
Sure. I'm tired of fooling around with bindles.
Yeah, but, Jean, an ounce?
Well, if you can't get it for me, I'll get it from somebody else.
No, that ain't it. Only I ain't got that much. I'll have to pass the word up front. I don't know, though.
Say, what's the matter with you guys? You're too wishy-washy for me.
Well, Joe said you was all right, and I guess he knows. But all I can do is pass the word up. Jeez, Jean, I wouldn't dare go to the front myself.
When can I get it?
I don't know. I'll pass the word and get Joe to. You'd better drop in a Wu Sing's down on Peavine.
At the public club?
Yeah, that's the place. 219. Just drop in casual like. If the word's good, the chinks will fix you up.
Okay, thanks.
Say, hey, Gene, if you make the contact okay, remember I can handle some of the junk for you.
Well, I'll think it over.
Just give me a break, Jeannie.
Well, I'll see what I can do. I'm new here, you know. Just got in from L.A. You pass the word along and you'll never regret it.
Back in the office of Sheriff Root, Joyce McAllister discussed the next move. Elated at her progress, Root explains the switch of peddlers.
So they got suspicious when you kept buying, switched men on you.
Yeah, but we're on the right track. They'll send the word along that I'm okay.
Well, that means the time has come for the bigger buys, but we still don't know where the money's coming from.
I think I do.
Yeah? What's your plan?
Let me have that phone a minute. I want to talk with Henry J. Anslinger, National 6400, Washington, D.C. I'll wait.
Hey, how does it happen you know that number?
Ways. Hello? No, I must talk to Mr. Anslinger. I'm sorry, but no one else will do. Will you call back, please? Yes, from the sheriff's office. Miss McAllister. Thank you.
Out?
Oh, red tape, probably.
Well, why insist on talking to the commissioner himself?
Well, I found out enough to know that there are some leaks somewhere along the line. I'm not taking any chances.
Well, if I may repeat myself, I think you have something there.
I know I have. I've got something else. I've got a date to go to the public club tonight. I need an escort.
Yeah, you've got something there, too. Hey, wait a minute. There's a newspaper man from San Francisco out in the clerk's office. He's not known here. Maybe he'll do.
What's he like?
Oh, the strong, silent type. And he bites his nails.
Well, feed him and bring him in.
I'll bring him in, but you take him out and feed him.
I'll let him feed me. Well, that's probably my call.
Sheriff Root speaking. Yes, just a moment. For you.
Hello? Oh, hello, Mr. Anslinger. This is Joyce McAllister of Santa Barbara. Yes, I'm calling from the sheriff's office in Reno. We found some rather startling information about a dope ring here. No, I haven't taken it up with the local office for some very good reasons. Well, no, I can't very well discuss them now, but I called to ask that some outside men be sent here at once. Well, just a moment. I think the sheriff will corroborate my story. Here, tell him.
Hello, Commissioner. Yes, she's been working in my office for some time now, and I think she's uncovered some real leads. Oh, fine. What name? Oh, yes, Nugent. H.T. Nugent. Well, we'll be looking for him. Well, that's that. He's sending Nugent from Chicago by airplane and 2 men from San Francisco. They'll have ample funds for any purchases we want to make, and they'll be strictly undercover.
Swell. Now about that news hawk from San Francisco.
"24 hours later, Joyce McAllister, for the second time and alone, walked into the hallway of the building at 219 Peavine Street. A loose board creaked in the floor as she passed. She barely noticed the board, but somewhere in the room above, a light flashed, and 2 slit-like eyes peered down at the girl in the crimson jacket. At last, a door opened silently, and a moon-faced Chinese in green silk pajamas and a soft sole shoe bowed her into a room.
Jean?
Yes.
One moment, please.
Good evening.
Mr. Wu Sing?
At your service, Miss Jean.
I've heard about you.
And I have heard of you.
Oh, that makes us even.
Yes, doesn't it?
Yes.
Would you like to see my establishment?
Yes, sir, I would.
This way, please. These are, as you know, places of great contentment.
Well, at least your guests seem contented.
Opium brings great surcease from trouble.
But a terrific hangover.
So I am told.
Well, that's a pretty girl in that booth.
Very. She comes from a very fine and very old family in New York. She has been here 2 weeks.
In there?
Yes, in there. After all, why not?
Yes, why not?
Chin?
Yes, master.
No more for that boy in there.
No, master.
What's wrong with him?
No more money.
But when he wakes up?
Who knows, perhaps he will not wake up.
Do many of them not wake up?
A few. They do not matter since they have passed their stage of usefulness.
No, I don't imagine they do.
Will you go in, please? This is my private office.
Thank you. Would you mind telling me why you let me in here without seeing me?
As a matter of fact, you were under observation from the time you opened the front door. That loose board you tread upon, that is a signal to the man in the room above. Had you not met with his approval, the other door would not have opened.
Oh, I see. Well, then there's no danger of a raid.
None. You may be assured of that.
That's a relief.
But the door is merely an extra precaution. Our real protection is my partner. You must meet him.
I'd be delighted. Who is he?
You will learn that when you meet him. Now, I believe you wish to make a purchase?
Yes, I want an ounce tonight.
That will be $200, please.
Say, that's pretty high.
It is my price.
All right, I'll take it.
My servant will deliver it to you in the other room.
Shall I pay him the money?
No, I will take that.
Okay, here you are. Now, when do I meet this partner of yours?
Whenever you wish.
All right, tomorrow night. I want 2 more ounces of junk, and I'll pay only $195 for them. Tell him that, will you?
Would you not like to call him and tell him yourself?
Oh, that's an idea. I'll call him from the drugstore on the corner. Or do you have a phone?
I have no phone here.
Well, I'll see you tomorrow night at the club.
Yes, tomorrow night.
Joyce called the chief and within half an hour received the morphine. With her purchase, she reported to the sheriff's office where the federal agent Nugent awaited her.
In about half an hour, a man came up to me with this box of cigars and took the money I had marked.
I see. Did you know him?
Well, I never saw him before, but he said he was sent by the chief.
Then you still haven't seen the chief, huh?
Not yet, but I talked to him over the phone.
Yes, I know. Sheriff Root made dictograph records of the conversation.
Oh, good.
We had his line tapped for a week.
Well, what's the next move?
You still have an appointment to meet him tomorrow night, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll go with you. When you meet the chief, come outside the club. And if you've made a purchase, open your purse and close it.
Like this?
Yes, that's right. Now, I'll give the signal, and my men will close in from the alley. Sheriff Root will go in the front way. I'll have men staked at the chief's office, and if he gives us the slip, we'll nab him there. And when the fun starts, you beat it.
All right. I wish you luck.
You'll need the luck if the chief gets suspicious.
I know. I might go to sleep in one of Mr. Wu Sing's opium rooms.
And not wake up, huh? Well, good night.
Good night.
Miss Jean, may I present my partner, Mr.
Oh, yes, I think we've met before. By telephone?
Yes, so you have.
Yes, but I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, no doubt you have. Working as you are alone.
Oh, yes, alone.
Just what do you do with all the junk you're buying?
Oh, I managed to get rid of it in time.
I see. I understand you operated in L.A.
Mm-hmm. A little?
Lately?
Yes, why?
Oh, nothing. Used to be in charge of our office there.
Long?
7 years.
Well, you should know the racket from top to bottom.
Yes, I do. From both sides.
Yes, from both sides.
Miss Jean has voiced distrust of our assistant.
Yes, I don't like this third-party stuff. I deal direct or not at all from now on.
I see. Well, I think that can be arranged. You need any stuff tonight?
Yes, an ounce.
Oh, you an ounce handy?
Many of them.
Good. Let Jean have what she wants. You have the money, of course.
Right here in my purse.
Good. I'll take it. And take care of it for you, if you wish.
All right. Here you are.
Here's your share, Wu.
My thanks to you. Your package, Miss Jean?
Thank you. Well, I'll be running along.
Just a minute. I'll show you to the door. Nice weather we're having, isn't it?
Yes, isn't it?
You been here long?
6 weeks?
I see. Just long enough.
Well, it's too long to suit me.
You, staying long?
Oh, it all depends. I must have lost my handkerchief. Or maybe it's in my purse.
Oh, here, let me open the door for
Oh,
you.
thank you. Oh, here's my hanky. I had it in my purse all the time.
You're under arrest, Hanson.
Huh? What is this, a joke?
I'd say it was pretty serious when a federal narcotic agent turns out to be head of a dope ring.
Why, what are you talking about? You haven't got anything on me. This is a frame-up.
Oh, is that so?
Wait a minute. What's that?
That's Sheriff Root and my men arresting your Chinese Confederate.
Now, look here. You can't get away with this. You haven't got a shred of proof.
A few minutes ago, Mr. Hanson, you told me you had been in charge of the Federal Narcotic Bureau in Los Angeles for 7 years.
Yeah, so what?
Well, it seems to me that in that length of time, you'd recognize marked money when you see it.
Marked money?
Yes, you've got a pocket full of it. I just gave it to you in exchange for an ounce of dope.
I knew I should have taken care of you right away. I warned Wu that we were playing with dynamite.
Yes, and this time it exploded right in your face.
You may know some friend who foolishly denies himself the pleasure and satisfaction of the best things this life has to offer because he proceeds on the theory that various products, which he describes as almost as good as the real thing, cost less. That, my friends, is not thrift. It's real extravagance. It is not thrift to use a motor oil that breaks down, ruining your motor and sentencing it to a premature death. Millions of motorists in 45 nations throughout the world have discovered the real money-saving qualities of Sinclair motor oils. They have learned that the so-called almost as good lubricants do not cost less in original purchase price and actually cost more in the repair bills for which they are to blame. If Sinclair motor oils cost more, which they do not, you would still be wise to Sinclairize for safety with this tougher, smoother lubricant. Sinclair motor oils do not break down because this jelly and wax are completely removed by a patented Sinclair process. Really, friends, when you know all the facts, you really can't afford to experiment with lubricants which claim to be almost as good as Sinclair motor oils. Sinclairize for safety by ordering your Rio Grande dealer to refill the crankcase with Sinclair Opaline, the oil that comes in the sealed tamper-proof cans and is stronger, smoother, and tougher and costs only 25 cents a quart. Have it done tomorrow morning when you drop in for another tank full of that Power Plus Ping Minus Police Car Performance Rio Grande Cracked Gasoline. And again we hear from Sheriff Root.
With a few minor dramatic liberties, this story occurred exactly as you've heard it tonight. 4 Chinese, Hanson and his accomplice, were brought to the trial. The man Wu Sing startled us all by making a full confession, as did the contact man for Hanson. Only the narcotic agent insisted upon his innocence. His case is now on appeal, although his first trial resulted in conviction on 12 counts of his indictment. Definitely, this was a crime that did not pay. I wish to express my own and the thanks of the citizens of Reno to Joyce McAllister for her splendid work in this case.
Washoe County Sheriff's Office calling all cars. Attention all sheriff's cars. Cancellation broadcast 200. Suspects in this case now in custody. That's all.
This is your narrator, Frederick Lindsley, bidding you good night for Rio Grande. Calling all cars, a copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
Santa Clara Sheriff's Office calling all cars. Attention all Santa Clara Sheriff's cars to broadcast 203. Be on the lookout for a man described as heavy-set, athletic build, broad shouldered, age 20 to 25 years. This man's wanted for questioning by sheriff's officers. That's all.
Officers of the law would be badly handicapped in their war against crime if they had to fight it out with ancient, obsolete flintlock guns. They must have the very best, the most modern, most efficient of equipment, and that includes gasoline. It is therefore a highly significant fact that more police cars, fire engines, ambulances, and other emergency equipment are powered by Rio Grande cracked gasoline wherever it is sold than any other brand. When the officials of 30 leading cities and counties of California not only recommend but specify the exclusive use of Rio Grande cracked, they are not experimenting. They've passed through the experimental stage long ago when they tested all the various makes. They decided on this superior motor fuel because Rio Grande is the only gasoline which has all the qualities absolutely essential to peak emergency performance. The same never-caught napping getaway, unfaltering acceleration, greater reserve power, minimum cost mileage, and maximum speed, which won the favor of officials, have caught and held the loyal patronage of motorists by the thousands. If you have not done so, give Rio Grande cracked gasoline the chance to prove itself. It will repay you manyfold by always giving your automobile police car performance, a possession that means happier days for both your motor and your pocketbook. So do yourself a good turn by visiting your Rio Grande dealer tomorrow morning. Begin the wise habit of automatically asking for police car performance, Rio Grande cracked gasoline, the most highly recommended gasoline in the West. The case you are to hear tonight was taken in the main from the confidential files of the office of the Sheriff of Santa Clara County. And we have asked Sheriff George W. Lyle to prepare a foreword for our program.
Occasionally, a person who is not an habitual criminal conceives what seems to him to be a foolproof crime, which he can commit without having to pay for it. Such is the case tonight in the story which has been selected for dramatization. It concerns the crime committed by a man whose previous record was clear. He failed to foresee, or at least to give value to the fact, that his act would bring more suffering to his own and the family of his victim than any amount of other trouble could bring them. Not only the criminal, but at least half a dozen other persons have had to pay for his crime of vengeance. He went into prison a stalwart man. He will come out, if he ever does, a broken and disillusioned old man who will know that crime does not pay.
In the dim watches of the night, as the stifling fog rolled across the Los Altos hills, a stealthy figure climbed a stone wall. Cautiously, he made his way across green carpeted lawn toward a small door. He opened it carefully, then, cat-like, stole silently to a room where a man and a woman lay sleeping. He paused to listen to the measured breathing of the sleepers. With fingers that trembled with excitement, he switched on a small lamp. In his hand there gleamed the vicious two-edged blade of a knife. He struck.
I'm Sheriff Amy. I believe someone phoned for me from here.
She's upstairs. She died just after my aunt called.
Who is she?
My mother.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on. Up this way. Auntie, dear. This is the sheriff.
It's the room at the top of the stairs.
When did this happen?
Just a little while ago. We phoned you immediately.
I came over as soon as I could get dressed.
Right in here.
Good Lord. You are Mr. Egan?
Yes.
You'd better get medical attention at once. You're losing a lot of blood. Has a doctor been called?
Yes, a doctor's been called. It's too late now. She's dead.
Your wound, though?
I'm all right. It's only a flesh wound.
Looks like a pretty nasty cut.
Right in here, Doctor.
Thank you very much. I'll see what can be done. Oh, good morning, Sheriff. What's the... Oh, I see. Oh, pretty bad cut, isn't it? Your wife, I presume?
Yes.
Too bad I couldn't have gotten here earlier. Too late now, though.
Yes. Too late.
You're not so well off yourself.
I'd better put a suture or two in that cut. Just sit over here. That's it. Now you can talk to the sheriff while I do this.
When did this happen, Mr. Regan?
Just a few minutes ago. I was in bed asleep. I heard my wife screaming. I woke up and saw a man bending over her. He had a knife in his hand, and he was slashing at her. I got out of bed and lunged at him. That's when he caught me in the shoulder here. Then he ran out into the hall.
What did he look like?
He was a young man. I'd say between 20, 25, broad-shouldered, quite a large man.
Do you have any idea who he was?
No, I didn't get a very good look at him.
I take it that knife on the floor there is the one he used.
Yes. I haven't touched it.
Well, don't. As a matter of fact, we'd better go into another room and leave everything here just as it is. Oh, through, Doctor?
Just about.
Are those your trunks, Mr. Regan?
Yes. We just arrived from Manila a few days ago. We're visiting my wife's sister here, Mrs. Buck.
Was she the one I met downstairs?
Yes.
Who was the young man?
That's my stepson, Charles Smith. He lives here with Mrs. Buck.
Oh. Was it dark in here when you woke up?
No. The night lamp was on.
Oh, do you leave it on all night?
No. The man must have turned it on himself.
You say you're from Manila. Have any enemies there?
None that I know of. I don't believe I have an enemy in the world.
Well, I ask that because it seems such a strange attack. I doubt if a white man would use a knife just like that when they're on the floor. It's more the sort of a thing a Filipino would use.
No, I don't think it was a Filipino. He was heavyset, a large man. I chased him as far as the door. My wife was gurgling, moaning, and trying to speak. I turned and saw that she climbed out of bed and had taken a few steps toward the door. It was awful.
Is that how the bloody footprint came to be on the floor?
Yes, that was my wife's footprint. She started to fall, and I caught her and put her back on the bed. Mrs. Buck and I did all we could to stop the blood, but it was no use. I realized she was dying. I ran to the phone and called the doctor and your office.
All right, there you are. Now we can go downstairs.
You think Mr. Regan will be all right, Doctor?
Yes, if he takes it easy for a day or two and doesn't get too much excitement. I think it would be a good idea to let him rest a while now. Don't ask him too many questions.
All right. I'd like to question some of the others anyway.
Right in here, Sheriff. Doctor.
I'll be running along if you don't mind. There's nothing more I can do here.
All right, Doctor. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Take it easy now. Don't talk too much.
All right. I won't. Jane, Sheriff Emig wants to ask a few questions. I think I'll rest a bit, if you don't mind.
Not at all. And now, Mrs. Buck, was anything taken from the house as far as you know?
No, there wasn't a thing touched. As far as we know, the man ran right out the same way he came in. I heard him run past my door just as I got out of bed after hearing the commotion in my sister's room.
Is that all you heard?
No. Just a moment after the man ran out, I heard a car start up in the driveway outside the house.
There's one thing certain. Whoever did this had a grudge against Egan and his wife.
Oh, I can't imagine who it could be.
I wonder if it would be an inside job. That stepson of Mr. Egan's. He fits the description of the murderer.
Oh, he couldn't possibly do a thing like that.
He couldn't be nursing a grudge against his mother for divorcing his father and remarrying.
Not Charles. He never hated anyone in his life.
I wonder if you'd mind asking him to step in here a minute. I'd like to talk to him.
Not at all. He's right here in the hall. Oh, Charles.
Yes.
The sheriff wants to talk to you.
All right,
Charlie, how old were you when your mother married your stepfather?
Oh, I was about 8 years old.
I notice you still use your real father's name. Why?
Well, when Mother married again, I was in school, and it would have been embarrassing to change it.
Mm-hmm. How do you and your stepfather get along?
Oh, we're pals. He said I could use his name if I wanted to, but nowadays, changing your name all of a sudden. Everyone knew me by my real name, so I just kept on using it.
I see. Do you know of any enemies your stepfather or your mother might have who would do this sort of thing?
No. Oh, there's no one I know of who hated Mother and Dad that much. In Manila, it might have been different. Here in the States, everybody seemed to like them. I only went to Manila for the summer vacations, you see. I don't know who their enemies might be. Oh, Dad.
Mrs. Buck told me you were asking Charles some questions. And I felt that I probably could give you more information about the family than he could.
What made you think I was asking him about the family?
I don't know. I suppose I just thought it would be the logical thing to do under the circumstances.
I see. Well, as a matter of fact, I have been asking him something about the family. But now that you're here, perhaps you can supply the information better.
Just what would you like to know?
What did you do in Manila?
I was president of the exporting firm of Egan and Churchton. I married my wife about 10 years ago. Her divorce had been one of those mutually agreed upon things.
Which I've often heard of, but have never seen.
Anyway, there have always been the most amicable relations between us and Charles' father. As far as natives went, we never had any trouble while we were on the island. I used to live with Major Churchton and his wife, who's my sister.
That was before you married?
Yes. I don't like to mention this, but you seem to want to know everything.
The more I know, the better picture I can form of the motives behind this attack.
Well, about 6 months ago, Churchton and I agreed to dissolve partnership. My sister, his wife, and my wife had never gotten along. I stood it as long as I could, and then we decided to break up the firm. After the dissolution, Major Churchton sued me for the goodwill. He didn't believe that he'd received enough money for his share. The suit is pending. Of course, what I'm telling you has nothing to do with my wife's murder, but you seem to want to know, so...
I think you've told me quite enough, Mr. Egan. At least you've given me some leads to work on. Oh, by the way, do you happen to know where Charles' father is now?
Oh, yes, he lives over in Piedmont. I can give you the address later, or you can get it from Charles.
Well, I'd like to have a talk with that gentleman.
A search of the estate revealed a series of footprints, evidently made by the murderer in entering the house and in fleeing from the scene of his crime. Sheriff Emig turned his findings over to investigators from the district attorney's office, and on the following afternoon, we find him in the office of Chief Wallman of the Oakland Police Department.
This case has me up a tree, Bodie. The Churchton family lives here in Oakland, and I wish you'd help me check up on them.
Okay, but are you sure no one in the house did the killing?
Well, at first I thought so, but I'm convinced now that Egan is a reliable witness. He says the attacker was a heavy-set, broad-shouldered man.
Doesn't that fit the stepson?
Yes, but he's stuck to his story consistently. I can't find any motive for his killing his mother.
How about Filipino?
Too little. He's just the usual houseboy.
Well, I think the best thing for us to do is to take a run out to the Churchton place. Have a talk with the family. Major Churchton, this is Sheriff Emig. We're investigating the Egan case.
Yes, I've heard about it. Very unfortunate, very.
Chief Wallman thought you might be able to throw some light on the case.
In what way, sir?
Well, to put it bluntly, there seems to have been a little trouble between you and Mr. Egan, and we thought...
If you thought any member of my family murdered Mrs. Egan, you're mistaken, sir. We can account for every move we made last night, or any other
Now,
night.
don't get us wrong, Major. You see, in a case like this, we can't afford to pass up any leads we might have. Sheriff asked me to come out with him.
Well, we're not used to being suspected of murder.
Well, as a matter of fact, Major, no one suspects you of murder. But now that you mention it, just what did your family do last night?
We had a bridge party here last night. Naturally, my wife was hostess. My two younger children helped with the refreshments.
Where was your elder son?
At work.
What time did you go to bed, Major?
About 1 o'clock.
All of you?
All of us.
Did you get up again and go out?
Of course not.
Major, would you mind telling us a little about your business relations with Mr. Egan?
There weren't any. When he married that woman and brought her to Manila, dissension began almost at once. Egan was my wife's brother. I put up with a lot, I can tell you.
When your partnership was dissolved, was that an end of your contact with him?
Certainly not. I still have some $50,000 due me from that transaction. The firm's assets are still in litigation. That's why my son George had to leave college and go to work.
How does he feel about that?
Like any other young man of his spirit would feel. He's disappointed, naturally.
Naturally.
Was George working all night last night?
Yes.
Major, was there any trouble in Manila? I mean, with the natives?
No. Why do you ask?
Well, this crime is the sort that an Oriental would commit. Hardly a crime characteristic of a white man.
Or perhaps a man who had spent much time in the Far East might commit.
No, there was never any trouble like that.
You say your son worked all night last night?
Yes, from 9 until 5.
I see. Well, thanks, Major. We may call you again, if you don't mind.
Not at all. Good day, gentlemen. If I can be of any assistance to you, command
Well, it's a cinch that young George couldn't have been in Oakland and Los Altos at the same time.
No, I guess not. Well, that leaves the Churchton family out of it.
Well, if I were you, I'd check back for that Filipino houseboy. Been in the family for years. He may be holding out on you. You know how those servants are.
Yes, but Egan said the murderer was a big man.
Well, after all, it was dark, comparatively, and Egan just awakened out of a sound sleep. Might be mistaken.
Yes, that's possible.
Well, at any rate, you've got to admit that the murderer had a pretty thorough knowledge of the layout of the house.
Yes, it's evident he knew the location of Egan's room.
Well, I have a hunch that you'll find somebody who knew that house pretty well did this.
Well, when I get back to Los Altos, I'll go into this thing from every angle. Meantime, let's run down and see what your men have found out about fingerprints on that knife.
You gotten those fingerprints on that butcher knife classified yet?
No, sir. The knife's too smudged to show any prints. However, there are indications that the man who used the knife wore cotton gloves.
Gloves?
Yes, sir. See, right there. There's an enlargement of one of the smudges. Those crisscross lines are fabric lines.
Can you tie that?
Well, that lets the Oriental element out.
Yep.
While you were gone, a couple of men from the DA's office brought in this 5-gallon can of kerosene.
Where did that come from?
They found it sitting on the wall out at the Egan place.
Yeah, I suppose he still had his gloves on when he handled that.
Well, assuming the same man carried that as committed the murder.
Sure.
There are lots of smudges, but no prints.
Well, I'll put a couple of my men on this and try to trace that knife. Might as well look for the well-known needle as for the place that can was sold. Did you take pictures of these things, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Well, we'll run them in the evening papers. Maybe somebody will recognize them. Hello, Murphy. What'd you find out about that can and a knife?
Boy, can you pick out the job?
What's the trouble?
Well, I traced that knife to the manufacturer and then to the jobber, and he gave me the name of the merchant that sold it.
How do you know that?
And you remember those little blue marks on the blade?
Those things that looked like Egyptian hieroglyphics?
Yeah. Well, those are the jobber's marks, and told him where the knife was sold.
And where was that?
Maxwell Hardware at 14th and Washington.
Check with them?
Yeah, they only had 2 left out of the last lot, and remembered selling one to a heavy-set fella a few days ago.
What makes them remember him?
Well, this particular knife isn't an ordinary butcher knife. It's a special implement used for killing pigs.
So the fellow didn't look like a butcher, and they remember him, eh?
That's about it.
Does the clerk think he could recognize the man he sold the knife to?
Well, he's not sure, but he said he'd try.
Well, our Oriental mystery goes up in the smoke of a 50-cent butcher knife.
Well, why don't we get a completely unbiased view of this thing from someone who knows the families well?
For instance?
Young Charlie Smith's father.
That's an idea. He might throw some light on this mess.
Murphy, you can go out and learn something more about young Churchton and that young Charlie Smith while we're gone.
Okay, Chief.
A few hours later, found the Oakland chief of police and Sheriff E. Meek in the sitting room of a large and luxuriously furnished house in the exclusive Piedmont section of the city.
Mr. Smith, we are trying to get a little information about some of the people who might possibly be involved in this Egan case.
Oh, yes, I know. My son came over to see me this morning.
We thought that with your knowledge of the two groups, you might have some of the information that we lack.
May I ask you rather a personal question, Mr. Smith?
Certainly.
I understand your divorce was a very quiet affair, a mutual agreement.
That's right. I preferred to let my wife go than to spend my life bickering and quarreling about non-essential things. I realized that the boy would be happier with her than with me, so he lived with his mother. I saw him occasionally.
And how were your relations with the Egans?
As friendly as possible under the circumstances.
Just what position does Mrs. Buck occupy in this setup?
Mrs. Buck is the real power behind the firm of Egan and Churchton. She always held the majority of the stock. Most of the money in the firm was hers.
Evidently explains how Mrs. Egan had so much influence.
Yes, it does. Of course, Churchton and Egan took out good money in salaries, but after Egan married Mrs. Buck's sister, things didn't go so smoothly with the firm, and the Churchtons came over here to live.
Was pressure brought on Churchton to get him out?
I rather think that Mrs. Egan prevailed upon her sister to force the issue in that case.
I understood they bought the major out.
Well, they paid him in cash for his stock, I believe, but he felt that he never received a just amount for his holdings.
Yeah, he told us that a suit was pending against the firm.
Yes, and I doubt that any civil court in this country will allow his claim.
All this is very interesting, Mr. Smith. I wonder if you know of any enemies that either the Major or Mr. Egan might have made in the islands.
I'm not prepared to answer that, Sheriff. I really don't know much about the way the Egans and the Churchtons lived in Manila, I wouldn't be surprised, however, now that my ex-wife is dead, to see the Major back in the firm.
Is that so?
It was really she who prevailed upon Mrs. Buck to force him out. She never did like the Major.
Well, Mr. Smith, I think that's about everything we need to know. And thank you very much for being so kind as to help us out.
Not at all. Anything I can do, I should be glad to do.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Good day.
Good morning, gentlemen. I hope I've been of some assistance to you.
Did you hear what I heard?
That Mrs. Egan never did like the Major? Yes.
I think our best bet is to pick up the Major and ask him some questions.
Well, better go easy. After all, he's a prominent man. Besides, he's already told us that he was in bed last night.
Nothing to keep him from getting up, committing a murder, and going back to bed.
At Oakland Police Headquarters, Major Churchton proved a stumbling block to the sheriff and detectives. Not only did he answer all questions in a straightforward manner, but he spoke so freely of his relations with the Egans that he established a strong belief as to his innocence.
Well, it's no use. Churchton's actions are those of an innocent man. Alibi is perfect. At least it seems so.
Yeah, it looks that way. We might as well release him.
Yes, I suppose so. Let's see what Murphy found out. Is Murphy out there?
No, sir. He's questioning young George Churchton in room 47.
Tell him to bring the young man in here.
Yes, sir.
Murphy must have had something in mind to have picked up young Churchton.
Wonder what he found out.
Well, we'll know in just a minute. Well, Murphy, how are you coming?
Pretty good, Chief.
Sit down, George.
Thanks. I've been finding out a lot of things since you left, Chief.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Well, I talked to Churchton's boss out at the restaurant. I asked him if he had personal knowledge that George worked all night, and he said he didn't. I talked to the bird that works with George, and he admitted that he'd relieved Churchton at 2 o'clock instead of at 5 as he was supposed to.
Why did he lie about it in the first place, George?
Well, we'd been changing our hours around a little to suit ourselves, and we didn't want the boss to know about it.
And what were you doing away from work at that hour?
I was keeping a date with a girlfriend.
You're trying to shield a girl?
Yes, sir.
2 o'clock isn't a very good hour to have a date, is it?
No, sir.
What if her parents found out about it?
They won't.
What makes you so sure of that?
I'll never tell you who she is.
A little melodramatic, aren't you?
Just the same, I'll never tell.
Okay. I'll just charge you with murder.
Go ahead. You can hang me before I'll tell you.
Take him out, Murph.
Well, what next?
Stick around. Unless I miss my guess. Murphy knows who the girl is.
Think so?
Well, I'll bet a lead dollar he'll be back here in a minute and tell us all about her.
Right in here, miss. Oh, Chief, this is Claire Burnett. At least that's her name for it. She's young Churchton's girlfriend.
Yeah, sit down, Miss Burnett.
Thank you.
Where were you with young Churchton on the night his aunt was murdered?
Well, no, I wasn't. I saw him the next night, though.
Are you sure you didn't see him that night?
Yes, I'm sure. It's funny, though. On that night, I had a bad dream, and I woke up screaming.
You had a dream?
Yes. Barbara Ross, my roommate, was in bed with me. I woke her up. I told her that I had dreamed a waiter in a white suit had killed his aunt.
Now, what is this, a fairy tale?
No, sir, it's the truth. I did dream it.
Are you sure you didn't dream it because George Churchton had told you he was going to kill his aunt?
Oh, no, sir, he didn't tell me. Ask my roommate. She'll tell you I had that dream.
It isn't the dream we're doubting. It's the convenience of it, coming right at this time.
We've checked with the roommate. This girl's telling the truth as far as it goes.
Well, dreams aren't acceptable as evidence.
It's a cinch. Churchton is trying to conceal the identity of his girlfriend because he's afraid she'll admit he told her he was going to murder his aunt.
No, that's not true.
As a matter of fact, he told you that if his aunt were out of the way, all his family troubles would be over, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
Bring Churchton in, Murph. Miss Burnett, I think we ought to warn you that you're in a tough spot.
What do you mean?
You're concealing valuable information that we need in this case. We can hold you as a material witness until Churchton is brought to trial. However you look at it, you lose.
Claire,
Oh, George.
what are you trying to do to her?
Trying to get the truth, Churchton.
Well, she doesn't know anything about it.
We have reason to believe she does.
I tell you, she doesn't know anything about this affair.
You probably haven't heard about the dream of hers.
What dream?
George, don't let them trick you into saying anything.
All that stuff about dreaming of seeing a waiter kill his aunt.
Well, we think she knows more about this than she's telling.
As a matter of fact, we think she's in on it.
Maybe she even helped you do it.
I tell you, she had nothing to do with it. I'll tell you who did it. I did. Nobody helped me. I killed my aunt, and I'd do it again. I had to leave college because of her. I had to work as a waiter because of her. I never had a chance to live like other kids my age. No fun, no dates, no money, nothing but work. Every night the same thing. Work. Standing there night after night, watching other kids have a good time. Watching people make hogs of themselves.
Don't, George.
I watched Dad worrying about money, worrying about the firm. I brooded over it for a long time. And then I decided that the best way out of it was to kill her.
Oh, George.
I went up to my aunt's house, to Mrs. Buck's, late at night. I knew where my aunt and uncle were sleeping. I switched on the light and I killed her. And I'm glad I did it.
George Sturgeon was tried for the murder of his aunt, found guilty, and sentenced to life imprisonment. Another crime that did not pay. Why are Sinclair motor oils so universally popular with millions of motorists in 45 nations of the world? This is the answer. No matter what the climate and regardless of sudden changes, this world-favored lubricant refuses to either break down from heat or congeal from cold. It is both heat-proof and cold-proof because the patented Sinclair process completely removes petroleum jelly and wax, the very parasites which make most so-called good oils break down under summer heat and become sluggish when put to the cold test of winter weather. If you have not yet joined the international parade of motorists throughout the world who rely on this superior lubricant, now is the time to Sinclairize for safety. Take on a crankcase full of Sinclair Opaline, the smoother, tougher motor oil that keeps it smooth, even flowing tempered in all kinds of weather. Sinclair Opaline comes to you in the sealed, tamper-proof cans at only 25 cents a quart. Better ask your Rio Grande dealer for a refill tomorrow morning before your motor comes down with an attack of automotive influenza. Inoculate your motor against cold weather ailments. Sinclairize for safety with Sinclair motor oils at the same Rio Grande station where you're in the habit of getting your police car performance Rio Grande cracked gasoline, the motor fuel which officials and the drivers of emergency equipment have made the most highly recommended gasoline in the West.
Santa Clara Sheriff's Office calling all cars. Attention all cars. A cancellation of broadcast 203 regarding a murder. Suspect in this case is now in custody. That's all.
This is your narrator, Frederick Lindsley, bidding you good night for Rio Grande. Calling all cars, a copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
Los Angeles Police calling all cars. Attention all cars. Broadcast 204 regarding a fight at Grand and Jefferson. See the man and keep the peace. Rosenquist.
Aviation has its test pilots, the automobile industry its test drivers and proving ground. And California, with more automobiles than any other state in the Union, is the proving ground for gasoline. Here the test drivers are the men at the wheels of police cars, fire engines, ambulances, and other emergency equipment. They are the men who drive the most. These impartial authorities, after trying all makes of gasoline, unhesitatingly say, Rio Grande cracked gasoline all the way. And the proof of their statements lie in the fact that last year they drove 55 million miles with Rio Grande cracked gasoline exclusively. Back of that unsolicited, unpaid-for recommendation are the reasons which make it easily understood. Rio Grande cracked continues to deliver quicker starting, steadier acceleration, longer mileage, greater reserve power, and the maximum speed of which a car is capable. Their reasons are your reasons, too. Enjoy police car performance in your automobile. Get more at less cost by habitually dropping into your Rio Grande dealers for Rio Grande cracked. Drive in for a tank full tomorrow morning, and you'll come back for more, thoroughly understanding why Rio Grande cracked is the most highly recommended gasoline in the West. Chief Davis, may we ask you to open our program?
I am not personally in favor of commending a police officer for every arrest he makes, appreciating the fact that he is paid for his services and fulfilling an obligation to the city. However, in this case we're about to hear, I have personal knowledge of the handicap the officers worked under, and when they succeeded in bringing their man to justice, it would seem negligent to let such work pass without commendation for such faithful service. Of necessity, we must touch only briefly on the work done by Officers Condaffer and Hickey in solving tonight's case. But their relentless pursuit of the criminals involved resulted in a capture and conviction, and again emphasized the fact that crime does not pay.
How's Mrs. Blackmore tonight?
Pretty well, thank you. Mr. Blackmore?
You're looking swell. Nobody'd ever think you just had a baby.
Young Mr. Blackmore is just 3 days old today.
3 days. Seems like you've been in here 3 years.
Miss me?
I'll say. A lot.
The doctor says I can go home next week.
I want you to stay as long as the doctor says for you to. No getting up and running around like you did before.
Oh, I'm all right, darling. We're strong women, we Blackmores.
That's a healthy-looking son you've got in the nursery out there.
Have you seen him today?
Sure. That is, as much as they'd let me. Gosh, you'd think babies were poison, the way these nurses herd you around.
It's you who's poison to the babies.
Oh, I won't hurt him. Why can't I just hold him?
Doctor's orders.
Ah, gee. Gosh, that's half the fun, playing with them.
You'll have plenty of time for that when we get home. You'll probably have your hands full with 2 youngsters and a wife to take care of.
I couldn't ask for anything better.
Oh, darling. You better run along now. It's almost feeding time, and the nurse will throw you out.
I'd like to see her try it.
Now you go on. Get out of here before you're thrown out.
All right. I'll be back tomorrow, just as soon as I get off work.
All right, darling. Goodbye.
But Christy Blackmore never came back. Next morning, the 27th of October, the bleak dawn found him standing on the street corner, waiting for the car that would take him to work. An automobile pulled to a stop.
Give you a lift, Betty? Why, yeah, thanks. A little chilly this morning. Plenty cold, if you ask me. Where do you work? Over across town. I always transfer on Grand. Well, I go straight through. I'll drop you at Grand and Jefferson. How's that? That'll be fine.
Hey! Why don't you look what you're doing, you mutt?
Who are you talking to?
Talking to you, you dumb cluck. You almost ran into us back there.
That's to you. I ain't been near you.
Oh, yeah? Just stop that car, buddy, and I'll get near you.
Go on, beat it.
Listen, mutt. I'll knock your teeth down your throat. You get hard with me.
Oh, yeah? Say, that guy sounds like a foghorn. Who does he think he is, anyway? Oh, some punch-drunk pug, I guess, from the looks of him. They're still following you. Let them follow. I don't care. Well, you can let me out at the next corner. Okay. Hope you get to work on time. Oh, thanks. I got lots of time. It isn't far from here. I'll let you out before the light changes. Okay. Thanks a lot for the lift. Don't mention it. Be seeing you.
Hey, Jesse, put on your squeaking brakes. I see that bozo what was in that other car. I'm going to take care of him. Come on, Twig. All right, wise guy. Here's how we handle mugs like you. Take it, Twig. Yeah, that'll hold him for a while. Let's grab Twig.
3 days later, Christy Blackmore dies from the injuries received at the hands of his brutal attackers. Detectives Condaffer and Hickey begin the hopeless task of rounding up witnesses to the assault. And then, at the coroner's inquest...
You have viewed the body?
I have.
And do you recognize the man?
He was my brother, Christy Blackmore.
Do you know how he met his death?
No, I don't.
Was he married?
Yes?
Any children?
2. A boy 2 years old and another just 6 days old.
That will be all, Mr. Blackmore. Sonny Edwards.
Yes, sir.
Where were you on the morning of October 27th when this fight occurred?
I was on the southeast corner of Jefferson at Grand. I was crossing the street when I saw the car stop.
What were you doing on that corner at that hour of the morning?
Well, I'd looked to see if any money had been left, and then I counted my papers.
Oh, you sell papers there?
Yes, sir. I have a rack there. Well, as I said, I saw this car drive up. It was a Hudson, I think. And these 3 men got out. And one of them said something. I don't know what it was, but the other 2, they didn't say a word. They just went over, and I saw him hit that man, Mr. Blackmore, and then he fell down.
What did the men do then?
Well, they got back in the car, and one of the men said, "Let's scram," and the car drove off.
Did all the men get out of the car?
No, sir. No, the driver, he stayed in the automobile.
Would you be able to recognize these men?
No, sir. I don't think so.
That's all. Thomas Britton,
Yes, sir.
were you present at the time this attack is alleged to have occurred on the morning of October 27th?
Yes, sir.
Where were you in relation to the deceased?
I was about 20 feet away at the time.
Did you see him get out of the automobile?
Yes, sir. I saw that gentleman over there, Mr. Kearns, drive up and let the other man out of the car. And then Mr. Kearns drove off, and the other man stood there maybe for half a minute. Then this other car, the Hudson, drove up and stopped about 6 feet away from the curb and down a ways from where the other man, Mr. Blackmore, was standing. 3 men got out and came up to Mr. Blackmore, and one of them struck him in the face. And I heard him say, "Take him, Turk." And the other 2 men began hitting him.
What did this first man look like?
Well, I couldn't get a good look at him, but he was short. Looked something like a prize fighter.
You say there were 2 others?
Yes, sir. One was a tall fellow, and the other one was short, heavy-set man.
Was he the one called the Turk?
Yes, sir.
Did you see a 4th man? A man who stayed in the car?
Well, I saw that there was a man in the car, but I didn't get a good look at him.
Would you be able to identify any of the men you saw that morning?
I don't know. I might be able to.
Thank you, Mr. Britton. Joseph Kearns.
Yes, sir.
You drove the deceased in your automobile to Jefferson and Grand on the morning of October 27th?
Yes, sir.
Were you in the habit of doing that?
No, sir. I'd never seen him before that morning.
How far did he ride with you?
From the time I picked him up until we got to Jefferson and Grand.
Did anything unusual happen during that time?
Well, I had a dispute with a fellow about the right-of-way, but I didn't pay much attention to it.
Did Mr. Blackmore have any words with these men?
No, sir. He never said anything to them. They came along and bawled me out, but he never spoke to them at all.
Did you see this attack on Mr. Blackmore?
No, sir. However, after I'd driven on through the signal, I glanced in the mirror and saw this Hudson with those men in it. I saw it stop, and a fellow got out and started to walk back.
Did you see him strike the deceased?
No, sir.
Would you be able to identify this man if you saw him again?
No, sir. I'm afraid I wouldn't.
You wouldn't know the man you had the argument with?
Well, I might, but I'm not sure.
Did you get the license number of the other car?
No, sir, I didn't.
That's all, Mr. Kearns. Thank you. The jury may prepare their verdict.
A few days later, Chief of Detectives James Bean sends for Lieutenant Condaffer and his partner, Jerry Hickey.
Sit down, boys.
Thanks, Chief. Morning, Captain.
What's been done about that Blackmore case?
Plenty, but not by us.
Just what do you mean by that?
Well, in the first place, we got the license number of the Hudson from one of the witnesses as A12177.
Yeah, and it turned out to be a Chevy Coach.
That's right. Meantime, we checked with another witness and found that it should have been A18177, which leaves us just as bad off as before.
Why so?
Well, you see, that car is registered to a bird named Court. Isidore Court. It's an old fellow. He's got 2 boys. Both of them have records as long as your arm.
petty theft, suspicion of robbery, all that sort of thing. They run around with a bunch of would-be prize fighters. Unless we can get a case built up against either one of them, we haven't got a chance.
Have you talked to anybody over at the DA's office?
Yeah. We asked for complaints against court on suspicion of murder. We figured we could get something out of him about who was present at the killing. We asked that if he was picked up, that he be held without bail. Well, he was picked up. The first we knew about it was that he was scheduled for trial this morning.
This morning?
Yep, this morning.
And you weren't notified?
Oh, yes. Just in time to get there while the first witness was being questioned.
Yeah, there was a whole parade of them. Dennison asked every one of them the same thing.
Did you see this man on the morning of October 27th?
I never saw him before in my life.
Mr. Kearns, is this the man who drove that Hudson automobile that morning?
Well, I'm not sure. You see, it was sort of foggy that morning.
Mr. Edwards, is this the man you saw in that automobile the morning that you were crossing Grand at Jefferson?
No, sir. No, I don't think so. No, I don't believe he's the one.
Mr. Britton, can you identify this man as the driver of the car that stopped near Christie Blackmore on the morning of October 27th?
I don't believe I can.
All the time, court sat there, laughing out loud. The only thing I can figure is that somebody got to those witnesses before we did.
Intimidation, you mean?
Exactly.
Well, what do you suggest?
Well, I've got an idea. Maybe a screwy one, but then again, you can never tell. It might work.
What is it? We might try it.
You remember Blackmore's brother?
Yes.
Well, let's get hold of him. Get him to go to one of the newspapers and see if one of those sob sisters will run this story as her own idea. Maybe we can get some reaction from other witnesses that we don't know about now.
Well, it's worth trying anyhow. Get in touch with him and let's see what happens.
Right.
Well, boys, there's your story in the record.
Here, let me see it. Wanted witnesses.
And how?
And so the brother started a personal investigation. Today he gave his report. I went to the district attorney's office, but they told me they couldn't open the case without more evidence.
We could have told him that.
Stick around. We get in on this someplace. Here we are. I went to Jimmy Bean. Well, he told me the police were not through with this case, but that they couldn't do anything without further evidence. More witnesses.
I hope we get him.
Oh, wait a minute. Here's the important part. And that's why I'm coming to you. There are a number of people who saw my brother knocked down and who could help us identify the man who struck him.
Yes, they would.
Also identify the car and those other men in it. I feel sure that if these people knew how the case ended, that if they knew the guilty person was going scot-free, they'd come forward and help me bring him to justice.
That ought to get him.
I should think so.
Captain Bean, there's a man here who says he has some information about the Blackmore case.
Send him in.
Yes, sir.
Maybe this is our first prospect.
Right in here, please.
You wanted to see me? Yes, sir. My name's George. I saw a story in the record last night about the Blackmore case. I thought maybe I might be able to help. I certainly hope so, Mr. George. Oh, this is Lieutenant Condifer.
All right.
And his partner, Jerry Hickey. They're working on the case.
How do you do?
Now, Mr. George, just what do you know about this case? Well, among other things, I can identify the men who did the killing. At least I'm pretty sure I can.
Oh? How's that?
Well, on the morning that Blackmore was killed, I happened to be waiting for a streetcar at the same place. I saw the Hudson drive up, and, well, here's a piece of paper that I wrote the license number on.
A18177. Well, that checks.
Right.
I was about 10 feet away from Blackmore when this car drove up. 3 men got out, and one was a tall man, and the other 2 were shorter. One was sort of blond, and the other was a very dark man.
These are the short guys?
Yes. One of the men walked up to Blackmore and struck him in the face. That sort of turned him around and seemed to stun him. Then the first man said, "Take him, Turk." And the other, short fellow, hit him 2 or 3 times as he fell. The tall fellow also struck him. What were you doing all this time?
I was just standing there. It all happened so fast I couldn't do anything.
What did you do after the men left?
Well, as soon as Blackmore fell, the men ran back to their car and jumped in. And that's when I got the license number.
I ran to Blackmore and picked him up. Another fellow helped me. We put him on the sidewalk. Then I ran across to the drugstore and asked them to come over and see if there was anything that they could do.
Did they?
No, they said that they weren't allowed to. They told me to go to the hospital.
Yeah, there's one right close to there, isn't there, Hickey?
Yeah, just a couple of doors down the street.
Well, I went down there, and about that time an ambulance got there. Somebody else must have phoned for it.
Mm-hmm. Did you get anyone else's name while you were there?
Well, I gave my name to several people, and I took down the names of 2 people that were there. One was a woman and a fellow named McDonald.
We've already checked the woman. She says she couldn't identify the man.
Well, she could if she wanted to. She's just afraid.
I see. And you can identify them.
Well, I'll say I can. I can identify one of them by his raspy voice, if nothing else.
Did you say one of the witnesses was named McDonald?
Yes, he works in a car rental agency on Western near Sunset Boulevard.
That's fine. Come on, Jerry. Let's pay a little call on Mr. McDonald.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. George. Your help has been invaluable.
Well, when you get him, call me. I'll identify him.
I'm looking for Mr. McDonald.
Hey, McDonald. What can I do for you?
From police headquarters, McDonald. We'd like to ask you a few questions about the Blackmore case.
Not so loud.
Huh?
Come over here. How did you get my name?
A fellow named George gave it to us. What's the matter with you? What are you looking for?
Listen, if those birds see me talking to you, they'll give me a dose of what Blackmore got. I've got a wife and kids, you see, and I don't want to get mixed up in this.
No, don't worry. We're not going to make trouble for you. We just want the man who killed Blackmore.
Look, there's a place right up the street here. It's a place like this. As a matter of fact, the same guy owns it. I was in there the day Blackmore died. 3 fellas came and started talking to this fella. One of them...
Let me take your packet, will you?
What's the matter with Izzy's Hudson?
Hey, the cops is looking for it. We was driving it this morning. We had to beat a guy up.
Yeah, what's the beef now?
Hey, shut his mouth off. We let him have it.
You're going to get in a jam beating people up like that?
Yeah, sure, will you? Well, how about the packet?
Okay, take it. But you got to get me a set of tires for it.
I'll take care of that.
I didn't see him when he came back, and I don't know what happened. But next time I saw the packet, it had a new set of tires on it. Then about 2 or 3 days after that, it was 3 days, I was over there again. And this bird comes in, the blue Hudson, and he says...
Oh, yeah. Give me $5, Sam, for some flowers.
Flowers for who?
The toy kicked off this morning. We're sending him flowers.
Wasn't he with you the other morning when you kicked that guy around?
Yeah, can you beat that? The both of them die on the same day.
Turk was punch drunk anyway. Here's $5. I still think it's a waste of money.
What do you care? You got a set of tires for that packet, awful cheap.
Yeah, that hot stuff's going to get me in stores someday.
Well, you're always singing the blues, ain't you, Sam? So long, you croaker. I'll see you later.
Acting on information received from the thoroughly frightened witness, Condeffer and Hickey take the operator of the rental agency to headquarters for questioning.
Now, look here, Sam. We've got enough information about the man who killed Blackmore to think that maybe you're in with him.
I had nothing to do with it, I tell you. I didn't know nobody had killed nobody.
Don't hand us that, Sam. We happen to know that you have a new set of tires on your Packard. If for nothing else, we can hold you on a hot tire charge.
All right. I'll tell you what I know about it. It's like you say. This bird comes into my agency one morning and tells me he's beat a guy up. I don't ask him no questions. It's none of my business, see? So he wants to borrow my car, so I lends it to him. When he brings it back, the tires is on it. That's all I know.
Oh, no, it's not. You know who that man was, and you know who was with him that morning.
No, I can't tell you that.
What's the matter with you, Sam? You're not scared, are you?
I can't tell you their names.
You tired of operating that rental agency, Sam?
What do you mean?
I'll turn you in the commission, have your license revoked unless you come clean.
No, don't do that. Business is all I've got. How would I make a living?
The same way I suspect you're making it now. All right. Come on. Open up.
If I tell you, will you keep me out of this?
Sure. Why not?
All right. The fellow that hit Blackmore first was Dennis Murphy. We call him K.O. Kelly. He done it.
Who was with him?
Turk and Easy Court and another guy. I don't know his name.
Don't hand us that stall.
I'm telling you the truth. I don't know his name.
Okay, Sam, okay. We'll find out if you're lying to us. And if you are...
Please calling all cars. Attention all cars. Repeat on broadcast 204. Be on the lookout for 3 men driving a blue Hudson sedan with a red stripe around the body. Number 1 described as Armenian, 5 feet 5 inches, weight about 150 pounds. Number 2 described as American, 5 feet 6 or 7 inches, about 150 pounds. Number 3 is about 24 or 25 years. He also weighs 150 pounds, 5 feet 8 or 9 inches. These men are wanted for murder. That's all. Rosenquist.
Get that description of those monkeys wanted by L.A.?
Yeah, all 3 of them.
Must be pretty tough babies, beating the guy up like they did.
There's quite a bunch of thugs like that around town now.
All quiet in the little town of Glendale, though.
Oh, yeah? Take a look up ahead there. 3 birds stripping a car.
Yeah, needs looking into.
Take it easy. Looks like they're getting ready to blow. Hey, you, come on over here.
Ah, don't muzzle yourself, Tucker.
And so the merry chase begins.
Hey, did you hear that voice?
So what?
Well, part of the description given by witnesses in that Blackmore case stressed a raspy voice.
Well, in that case, we'll put on a burst of speed and overhaul them.
Pull up alongside if you can. Whoa, the car!
Yeah, there goes a perfectly good fender.
Let him get ahead of them. I'm going to take a tire off that hack. Hold it steady now.
Nice shooting. We'll put you on the pistol team.
Crowd him over. Keep your hands where I can see them.
Here's a set of bracelets for each of you gentlemen.
Oh, I hate funny coppers.
Not half as much as I hate punk crooks.
Say, Haiti, look at this. A 38 S&W.
My. Carrying concealed weapons, too.
Resisting arrest.
And stealing auto accessories. Let's put them away.
Hey, Sarge, let me see the make sheet on those monkeys the Glendale boys brought in last night.
Pretty tough customers, if you ask me.
Isidore Court, Sam Schwartz, Dennis Murphy. Court, Murphy. Hey, what does this guy Murphy look like?
Oh, he's a little sort of guy, about 5'6". Weighs about 150, maybe.
Let's take a look at his record. Suspicion of a robbery, 1922. Burglary 23, robbery 23, robbery 24, burglary 25. The leader of the church choir, eh?
He's hard enough, all right.
I got a release order on him.
What?
Yeah, I got a warrant for him. I want to see him, too.
Okay. Now, right back here. Right in there, Frank.
Hey, Kelly, come here.
There's nobody in here but an Kelly.
Oh, yeah? Well, you'll do. Come here.
Listen, copper, I ain't talking, see?
Who asked you to talk?
Well, then, what's the idea?
Just wanted to get a good look at you, that's all.
You ain't never seen me before.
I think maybe you're right at that. But I'm going to be seeing you for some time now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Let him out, Sergeant.
Okay. Come on out, tough guy.
Button up.
You don't look like you could kill a guy.
What's up, beef copper? What's the idea of springing me?
Springing you? Who said I was springing you?
Well, the thing was...
Oh, I see. You're wondering about your newfound freedom. Well, I can explain that.
Yeah, well, slip me the lowdown on it.
Well, it's very simple. You're not free.
Oh, wait, I ain't.
No, we're just going to take a little ride. You see, I got me a new car.
Yeah, well, where to?
Down to the Central Jail.
What for?
For safekeeping till you're tried for murder.
Murder?
You heard me. I'm arresting you for the murder of Christy Blackmore.
Christy Blackmore? Oh, gee.
You can't fool the millions of motorists in 45 nations of the world who swear allegiance to Sinclair Motor Oil. nor the 52 railway systems, 150 major airlines, airports, and airplane manufacturers, and the great fleets of ocean-going vessels, which have given the phrase Sinclairized for safety worldwide significance. They know the all-weather qualities of Sinclair motor oils. Sinclair motor oils maintain the same high lubricating values regardless of temperatures. It is a fact that if you were to drive from the torrid zone to the Arctic, you wouldn't need to change oil if you were using Sinclair. The reason is as simple as it's important. Sinclair motor oils are subjected to the patented Sinclair process, which makes them heat and cold proof and completely removes petroleum jelly and wax, the two elements found in almost every oil you buy. If you want a lubricant that will flow as smoothly on cool mornings and evenings as in the heat of the day, at the same time providing the moving parts of your motor with the resilient cushion it must have, why then have the crankcase drained of the weary and sluggish oil you may have been using and have it refilled with Sinclair Opaline, the smoother, tougher lubricant that comes to you in sealed, tamper-proof cans at only 25 cents a quart. When you drive into your Rio Grande dealers tomorrow morning for your supply of police car performance, Rio Grande cracked gasoline, Sinclairized for safety with all-weather Sinclair motor oils. Again, we are privileged to hear Chief Davis.
K.O. Kelly, to use one of his many aliases, was lodged in the Central Jail, charged with the crime of murder. He was duly arraigned and brought to trial in Superior Court. Isidore Court, again using an alias, turned state's evidence, and on September 22nd, 1926, Kelly was allowed to plead guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to serve from 1 to 10 years in the state penitentiary. Thus, in a small measure, he was made to pay for his brutal and unprovoked attack upon a defenseless man.
Thank you, Chief Davis.
Los Angeles Police calling all cars, attention all cars, to cancellation broadcast 204 regarding a fight at Jefferson and Grand. Suspects in this case have been sentenced to prison. That's all. Rosenquist.
This is your narrator, Frederick Lindsley, bidding you good night for Rio Grande.
I hear you're interested in police work.
Oh, in a way, yes. I've studied a little about criminology and all, but...
Well, we don't have much time for that sort of thing in this office. Usually it's a case of touch and go when a crime is committed here.
Does that apply to all of them?
Well, all except junk.
Junk?
Yes, dope, narcotics.
Oh.
That's a case for the federal government in the first place. About all we can do is to arrest a few addicts or maybe a small-time peddler or two. And that's about our limit. When it comes to reaching the biggies, that's out of the question.
But why?
Well, for a lot of reasons. First, we're all too well known around here to get the goods on them. The ones who should be enforcing the law don't always see fit to take action just when we think they should. And as a consequence, there's quite a lot of traffic in narcotics going on around here.
Yes, I've noticed that there was something wrong in some of the branches of the law enforcing business.
Now, you take the case of Blanche Creek. She's in jail now, charged with possessing narcotics. She's a sick woman, mentally sick more than anything else. But my budget doesn't even allow me to hire a matron. You know, that woman hasn't even got anybody to talk to.
Perhaps there's something I could do.
Well, you might talk to her if you want to. She's trying to shake off the junk.
Junk? Oh, I know, dope.
Sure. It takes 6 or 8 grains a day. She's a main liner, too.
What's a main liner?
She injects the dope into the main vein when she can get a needle.
And when she can't get one?
Well, she scratches the skin till it bleeds and then squeezes a handkerchief or other piece of cloth that's been wet with a morphine solution.
That's horrible.
Yeah, maybe. But you'd be surprised what a person will do when the dope habit gets him.
Sheriff, I've got an idea. Why not let me help you catch these so-called higher-ups?
Well, I don't know just what you could do to help.
I could see this woman you have in jail and Maybe I could get her to tell where she gets the drugs.
Oh, not a chance. If I sent you over there, she'd be suspicious right away.
Well, she doesn't have to know you sent me.
I don't see how we can keep her from it.
What's the penalty in this state for writing worthless checks?
About 90 days. Depends on the person, I guess.
All right, I'm going to write a check. I'll get my hotel to cash it. I'll write it on a bank where I have no account, and that'll make an outright case against me. You can put me in jail.
The kids are being made junkers every day. The traffic has to have more junkers to get a bigger market.
Oh, but surely these peddlers don't sell dope to children.
Oh, don't they? That's what you think. The junkers have to peddle it and make new converts. That's the only way they can get the money to buy their own stuff. This town's full of it. Most of us came here to get divorced. What we need is divorce from drugs.
Well, don't the police do anything?
The law. Bah! Why, the biggest part of the law is the biggest crook among the junk dealers.
Who is he?
Never mind. I've said too much already. Forget it. Listen, don't squeal on me, dearie. And don't let him give me any more. I want to beat it. Oh, get a doctor. Get somebody. Give me a shot. Give me some junk. Do something. Help me. Help me.
I tell you, Sheriff, I couldn't stand it. There she lay, writhing in pain, screaming for dope and pleading with me to get it, and still screaming that she didn't want it. Oh, I thought I'd go mad.
I shouldn't have let you go in there by yourself.
Oh, we've got to do something to help this woman. We've got to do something to help all these others who are trying to fight a habit that's overpowering them. I tell you, I've seen enough and heard enough to last me a lifetime.
And you've been there only a week. I've been in this place for years, seeing what you've seen, but I couldn't do anything about it.
Why couldn't you do something about it? You're an officer of the law, aren't you?
Yes, but what can I do? I've known for months of the increase in the traffic. Everywhere I turn, we run up against a blank wall of influence. Influence that we can't break down. We've got no funds to make purchases for evidence, and even if we did have, every peddler in town knows all my men. Besides, the best we can do is pinch the small fry. We can't touch the higher-ups.
I can. With the information this woman has given me, I'm going out, and I'm going to find out who's at the head of this dope traffic. I'm going to...
Hey, wait a minute. You might not be so lucky if someone heard you. Say, if I'd known it was going to...
Oh, that woman.
That's a serious thing, Miss McAllister.
Is anything more serious than the peddling of narcotics to persons already helplessly addicted?
Well, when you put it that way, I guess not.
You see to it that I'm placed where I can talk to Blanche Crete, and I'll get all the information you need.
A few days later, Joyce McAllister sat on the edge of a jail cot, looking into the pain-racked face of Blanche Crete. Suddenly, the woman sat bolt upright on her cot and seized the girl's wrist.
Get me a bindle, will you? Get me something. I can't stand this. I've got to have it. I've got to.
Oh, quiet, quiet. You'll be all right.
I won't be all right. I know what's coming. Pretty soon I'll go to pieces again. It'll be horrible.
Well, maybe if I knew where to go, I could get some for you.
I know I can get it.
Where?
No. Don't let them give me any. I can beat it. I can stick it out. The hard way. I want to beat it.
When did you have any last?
2 days ago. See, I'm already sneezing. That's a good sign. As soon as the sneezing stops, I'll be off the junk.
But don't you think you should sort of taper off?
No. Oh, tell these people, no matter how hard I beg, don't give me the junk. Let me do it the hard way.
Oh, but that'll take such a long time.
I don't care how long it takes. The hard way is the only sure way. I've been mainlining 6 and 7 grains a day. You can't keep that up.
It must be awfully expensive.
Yeah. It takes a couple of $100 a month. Sometimes more to buy the stuff. That's why so many of us have to start stealing and robbing. As long as I'm on the junk, I can't work. So figure it out for yourself.
I don't think it can be figured out.
I'm just one of hundreds like me in this town. Thousands, I'd say.
How'd you get started?
Well, I don't remember exactly. It was sometime when I was in school. High school. I was only about 16 then. Some of us started smoking marijuana. Just for fun, you know. Then, little by little, we got into more powerful stuff till here I am.
You mean to say it was possible for you to get drugs as a high school girl?
Sure, it's a cinch. It's easier now than it was then.
Calling all cars, a copyrighted program created by Rio Grande.
Reno Sheriff's Office calling all cars. Attention all Reno Sheriff's cars to broadcast 200 at 219 Peavine Street. 219 Peavine. See the woman.
If you were to fall heir to $1 million tonight, you might go out tomorrow and purchase a more costly automobile. But if you were wise, you'd go right on using police car performance gasoline because money can't buy a better gasoline than Rio Grande. This favorite fuel of the well-to-do and those in moderate circumstances alike is also the specified choice of the officials of 30 leading cities and counties throughout California. Rio Grande cracked gasoline is the always dependable driving force which powers more police cars, fire engines, ambulances, and other emergency equipment wherever it is sold than any other brand. And the reason back of all this universal popularity is neither accident nor mere guesswork. Police, fire, and hospital authorities selected Rio Grande cracked because this fine motor fuel proved itself by actual test in competition against all the rest. They have to have a gasoline that delivers quicker, right on the nose starting, steadier acceleration, long mileage endurance, greater reserve power, and the winning punch of speed if you need it. Rio Grande cracked is that gasoline. It has what it takes. It meets every rigid requirement of those who know their gasoline best because they drive the most. Countless motorists are profiting by the experience of these California authorities, and you too may find out for yourself by dropping in at your Rio Grande dealers tomorrow morning. Give that automobile of yours real police car performance by always using Rio Grande cracked gasoline, the West's most highly recommended gasoline. The fuel that gives you a longer, more efficient run for less money. The case we are to hear tonight was taken in the main from the confidential files of the Washoe County, Nevada Sheriff's Office. We therefore ask Sheriff Ray Root of Reno to prepare a personal message for you.
For years, the nations of the world have tried to stop the harrowing evil of dope distribution. Prices paid by drug addicts for their daily stint of opium, morphine, or heroin are far higher today than at any time in the past 20 years. There is a shortage of dope in the underworld, due mainly to the efforts of the federal and state agencies in apprehending and convicting the leaders of dope smuggling rings. Federal policy today centers not so much upon arresting minor peddlers and trying through them to trace their sources of supply, but instead to strike at the roots of the traffic itself. It was this policy that led to the activities of federal agencies in cooperating with my office in breaking up the powerful dope ring in Reno. The situation is by no means definitely wiped out, but great headway has been made in destroying the power of dope in Nevada. I shall have more to say regarding this case at the close of the program.
Calling All Cars is honored tonight to present as guest artist on this program the famous star of the stage and screen, Miss Catherine DeMille, in the role of Joyce McAllister. Our story opens in the middle of March 1937 in the office of Sheriff Root in Reno.
So you're from Santa Barbara, Miss McAllister?
Yes, but for the next few weeks, I'm a permanent resident of Reno.
Off for the old and on with the new, eh?
Well, not for me. This is the one and only time.